News stories come nearly every day in the U.S. on police force creature named above dark Americans making anything more than rather than creature dark. Author Barrett Holmes Pitner explains why he thinks us racist is distinctive. Although they were not us, they were yet exposed to bigot us stereotypes, and creature confronted in strained, potential lifetime-threatening altercations in police force out of always making a criminality. I've passing a equitable sum about the planet, but America's bigot statute quo remnant distinctive and disturbingly depressing. Us racist is completely face color-based and monolith. A's ethnicity is insignificant. Year ago for one of my trips to France, a female at La Poste rejected to sell me stamps since she mined I was African. While she scientific how I was us, she apologized and sold out me the stamps. The racist I skilled in France is completely inappropriate, but it stipulated and flee not given recent 1 week to these 3 visitors to America. In France, ethnicity usurped racing, and time how can include its own problems, it was yet really various of the racist behind household. While I was in London, I lived in Bethnal Verdant for the 2011 atrocity, that begun following London police force commanders annihilated Mark Duggan, a dark person. As youthful vandals looted and set my neighborhood on fire, I recall accidentally walked downward the road for the havoc and possessing a London police force official courteously asked me to back to my plane. Down there was no strained exchanging, I was not detained, and I never afraid for my lifetime. For the 1 week of the atrocity, Londoners publicly debated how dark human beings might get various treat of law coercion, but conversations concentrated on analysis police techniques, debating ways to hold younger generation off of the gateway for the summer while they do not include high school, and contagious looters via video surveillance system. In the US reasoning, a presumably intrinsic risk or crime of dark bodies would include been utilized to excuse the police force's murder of Duggan and this the atrocity as an unavoidable on-product of a civilization of criminality. The murder of Michael Tan and the atrocity in Ferguson accompanied the all-too-familiar US scenario. Racist to dark human beings in America has substantially anything to do in migration or ethnicity. Down there is no household nation for African Americans to communicate to. Instead of it is substantially a statute quo of national estrangement, dehumanization, criminalization, and terrorism. Europe racist is poor, but it was yet more than hospitable rather than America's. America's system racist starts in bondage, and the different slavery codes, country or fed laws created how codified the inhuman experience of movable property bondage in act. The US southward was a slavery community, not just a community in slaves. Yet, next the abolishment of bondage, laws such to the slavery codes extended to depress dark human beings. Next the civilian warfare, these dark codes had the obvious goal of stripping again released dark Americans of the rights they had win. Dark codes diverse of country to country, but their legislative basis focused on vagabondage laws how permitted for an African us to be detained if he was jobless or homelessness. They attached to innumerable blacks since habitation and occupation opportunities for released blacks in the southward were nearly non-existent following the warfare. Supporters of Virginia's Vagabondage Act of 1866, one of these measures, set out how it would reinstitute bondage in all but its behalf. White Southerners would paper blacks for vagabondage, and law coercion would detention them and verdict African Americans to up 3 months of constrained labor on social or individual lands. The Fed by the government fought versus dark codes for renovation by electing ex-abolitionists and released blacks to social office space, and creation laws and addition amendments to the U.S. Basic Law to defend the rights of dark Americans. But next the crash of renovation in 1877, Southern state driven them behind. Dark codes became the rock of country constitutions. Survey taxes and competence exams to hinder African Americans of vote quickly became the rule. Jim Blackbird and race segregationist, that regulated the southward before the 1960s, are outgrowths of such laws. As dark families fled the southward in the 20th age for the large migrating, dark codes accompanied them to Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, and in another place. Dark Americans, who were national refugees escaping country-funded terror, supposedly driven criminality, joblessness, vagabondage, and drugs. Police force departments through America answered in more than dark codes and violent police of dark communities. Dark lifetime has ever been criminalized and dehumanized in America. For Barack Obama's chairmanship, Michael Tan, Eric Storr, and innumerable some unarmed African Americans were annihilated by police force, but in a dark CEO lot Americans thick felt advance was achievable. Public print grown knowledge of these injustices and helping build the Dark Lives question motion. By CEO Donald Trump card, we include the identical kind of abuse how America has ever had, but now we include, at top, an apathetic fed by the government, and at lowest a bigot CEO. Due to the changing, more than whites Americans are encouraged to de-employ dark codes. By Obama, public print championed our wish for advance, and present it documents our evident regress. Next the detention of two dark men for meeting in a Starbucks, and the enlarged knowledge of such injustices, the planet can more than obviously see the bigot applications of the law how dark human beings always person in America. Their detention was dark codes in 2018, but out of the 3 months of constrained labor. Trump card's chairmanship has reinforced the issue and public print has grown knowledge, but utilizing dark codes and masking suppression versus dark human beings as more democratic judiciary and equitable law coercion has sorrowfully ever been America's statute quo. Barrett Holmes Pitner is a author and reporter relying in Washington, D.C. Adjustment. An over-release of the paper wrong set out how Trayvon Martin was annihilated by police force.